So, two very big court case updates earlier in the day. You had Judge Eileen Cannon issuing an order denying Donald Trump's motion to dismiss on unconstitutional vagueness grounds almost instantly after a hearing was held before Judge Eileen Cannon earlier in the day that Trump attended, and special counsel Jack Smith there as well. Trump's lawyers were in attendance there. And so hide the ketchup, folks, but we'll break down the order because there's some weird stuff in here as well. And then we got that bizarre notice from the Manhattan District Attorney basically saying that the Department of Justice had just turned over about 31,000 documents in response to a subpoena that was issued by Donald Trump in January of 2024. The same type of records that were requested over a year ago by the Manhattan District Attorney when the DOJ didn't respond there, but all of a sudden 31,000 new documents were turned over. So now there's obviously to be sort of delay in the Manhattan District Attorney case. You have Alvin Bragg in the Manhattan DA's office requesting 30 days. Trump wants to delay it at least 90 days. We'll give you our prediction, folks. I still am confident that case is going to go fairly soon, and so I wouldn't worry about it not happening in 2024, but I do think it's going to get delayed. I also want to talk about Donald Trump going on Newsmax and essentially admitting that he took the classified documents, but that shouldn't come as a shocker given that his arguments are now that he telepathically declassified records and converted our national security secrets into his personal information by the transmutative of just putting it into a box and then sending it to Mar-a-Lago.
He interposed.
What'd you say?
He interposed.
He interposed it as well. Also, we're learning about more data about this Alexander Smirnov and his links potentially to Donald Trump through this bizarre entity in Texas called ETT. And when you look at what it was involved in, it claims that it was there to like save the world by creating chessboards that like metaphysical chessboards that change the hearts and minds of people. I don't even know what this, never even read a mission statement like this before. But anyway, Smirnov is the Russian asset who was laundering disinformation through the MAGA Republicans and formed the core of their bogus impeachment inquiry into President Biden. And now we're learning that he received significant money of a company that has some sort of ties to Donald Trump. We'll break that down. And then you've got the MAGA Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene praising Argentina's economy, praising Argentina's inflation rate, and apparently celebrating February 2024 numbers of 13.2% inflation, and the fact that Argentina's poverty rate hit 57% in January, climbing from 49.5% in December. But that's apparently the way MAGA wants to turn our country into. And then you've got Lara Trump and MAGA's takeover of the RNC, purging 60 staffers, starting an election integrity unit to be headed by Trump's custodian of records, or sometimes lawyer. Sometimes she moonlights as a right-wing host. Christina Bobb, one of the biggest purveyors of disinformation, is now leading election integrity for the RNC. They seem to be moving operations right around Mar-a-Lago. And those at the RNC who thought they were going to be doing the purging have now found out that they are the ones being purged. Wake up. That's what MAGA is all about. That and more on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Fast and furious news, everything, everywhere, all at once. Hey. Ups, downs, lefts, rights, a lot going on. We'll break it all down.
As I said last week, every single day feels like this psychological whiplash, right? It's like bad news. Oh, that hurts. Okay. Oh, good news. Okay, there we go. Bad news. Oh, it's constantly day in and day out feeling that way. I know we have a bit of a legal heavy show today. And Ben, I'm really looking forward to getting your thoughts on what's going on with the Manhattan DA trial and all this Judge Cannon stuff. I still obviously have no trust in Judge Cannon, but I want you to kind of read the tea leaves here as to what she is doing. And looking at these purges with the RNC, it's like, it's like, that whole concept of the leopards eating faces party. And, I can't believe the leopards ate my face. I never thought that would happen over here. It's the constant refrain that you see from Republicans where they support this guy. They think that, oh, this will never happen to me. He'll never do bad things to me, though. He's just doing it to those libs over there. And then, of course, like clockwork, they end up being ousted from the party, and Donald Trump moves in his lackeys, and things get absolutely destroyed. Lindsey Graham was actually right those years ago when he said that Trump would destroy the Republican Party. I think this week that finally actually happened. That process is complete, and we are seeing the effects with Lara Trump, of all people, at the helm. I can't even believe that. Oh my gosh. Jordy, what's up? What's new?
I just can't believe that the Lara Trump stuff happened not even, 36 hours ago-ish, about the 60 staffers. And it's just, it feels like it happened 2 weeks ago. Just the way this news cycle is continuing to move at the pace that it does. It's like the fastest news cycle, and at the same time, it feels like the slowest news cycle all at once. And I think, to your point, Brett, it's that whiplashy sort of experience that we're all seeing with this headline and this headline. But hey, that's why we're here, to break it all down. Benji, what's up?
And I also don't want to lose sight of some other things that need attention as well. For example, the Arizona Republican Party blocking a bill being introduced by Arizona Democrats to protect contraception. There you have Arizona Republican leaders saying that they miss the good old days, or words to that effect, where women would put aspirin between their legs. That was also a refrain we had seen from other Republican leaders across the country. Disgusting stuff. That's why I don't want to just gloss over stuff like that happening every single day. Of course, we had previously reported about how MAGA Republicans within the United States House of Representatives and Senate blocking unanimous consent votes to protect IVF. When they tell you who they are, believe them. And you can go back and watch all of the interviews where Donald Trump would say things like he believes that women should be punished who seek to have their reproductive health protected. And he answered that on Chris Matthews. He's made the statements. He brags about overturning Roe v. Wade. The MAGA Republicans continue not just to brag about overturning Roe v. Wade, but also the effects that stem from that, which is now you have states like Alabama and you got other places all across the country in these red states basically saying that, look, a frozen embryo is the same exact thing as a child, and you can be charged with murder if IVF doesn't go as planned. You've got, plans to, again, if you weren't going to protect contraception, then I'm pretty confident that you have also plans when you say you want to do things like take it away to do that as well. And that's not a both sides issue. So I'm sick and tired. And you have to, that's important that we have civic understanding and civic engagement where this is coming from and how you navigate in a system where you've got one political party right now, the pro-democracy party represented by Democrats, that are trying to protect freedoms, protect America, and protect our allies. And you've got another party literally working from within a system based on good faith and certain constitutional norms, taking that the same way Donald Trump would always take contracts, blow them up, destroy them. The contract, our greatest one, the Constitution, Republicans led by Donald Trump and the MAGA mutation takeover, taking our Constitution and trying to shred all of the good faith that it's based on. But let's just start off with these court decisions, with Judge Aileen Cannon denying Donald Trump's motion to dismiss on the grounds of unconstitutional vagueness. A hearing was held earlier in the day on this exact motion. So it took about just a few hours for Judge Cannon to issue this order. So on the one hand, we can all joke around and say, Donald Trump, hide the ketchup. Even Judge Aileen Cannon hates you. And sure, there's something to that. But here on the MeidasTouch Network and our legal analysis, we need to get in the weeds, because even though Judge Eileen Cannon denied Trump's motion to dismiss, this is a patently frivolous motion. Trump is arguing that 18 U.S.C. Section 793E, more commonly known as the Espionage Act, the law that was put into law, passed by Congress, signed by a United States president, used on countless other cases, is somehow unconstitutionally vague as to the facts here based on the usage of words in the statute like relating to national defense, entitled to receive, and unauthorized possession. Okay, these words are not unconstitutionally vague. Unauthorized possession, you are unauthorized to possess it. Relating to national defense, is it war plans? Is it nuclear secrets? Is it information relating to national defense? What's vague about that? Entitled to receive, should you have it or are you not allowed to have it? When you leave office, you are not a king for life. You don't get to steal our nuclear secrets and then claim they're your personal property. So to me, the very fact that Judge Eileen Cannon denied this without prejudice, meaning Trump can bring it back again at a future date, to me is very concerning. And the fact that Judge Cannon says in this order that these various arguments by Trump, and let me quote it, warrant serious consideration. This is the height of frivolity. Just take a look at this motion. So first it talks about how this came before the court because Trump filed it. And then it goes on to say what this is all about in the second paragraph. Defendant Trump seeks dismissal of counts 1 through 32 of the superseding indictment, and this is the Mar-a-Lago document case, just so you don't get confused, on the ground that the statutory phrases, quote, unauthorized possession, quote, relating to the national defense, and, quote, entitled to receive, appearing in 18 U.S.C. Section 793E, are unconstitutionally vague as applied under the facts presented, in violation of due process and the rule of lenity. Although the motion raises various arguments warranting serious consideration, the court ultimately determines, following lengthy oral argument, that resolution of the overall questions presented depends too greatly on contested instructional questions about still fluctuating definitions of statutory terms, phrases as charged, along with at least some disputed factual issues as raised in the motion. For that reason, rather than prematurely decide now whether application of 18 U.S.C. Section 793A and E in these circumstances yields unsalvageable vagueness despite the asserted judicial glosses, the court elects to deny the motion without prejudice. And you may say, Ben, that's a lot of legalese. Can you break down what Judge Eileen Cannon is trying to say there? It is a bunch of word salad gobbledygook. Like I read this and I'm like, I don't think she knows what she's saying, other than she wants to give Donald Trump like a consolation prize. Hey, I'm denying this, but I think it warrants some serious consideration. I think you raised some interesting points there. But when I read this and she's talking about how, how it yields unsalvageable vagueness despite asserted judicial glosses, is what you're trying to say that no court has ever even contemplated this issue because it's so baseless, but you think that there's some unique issues here because Donald Trump somehow should be treated differently? And what do you mean when you say contested instructional questions about still fluctuating definitions of statutory? This isn't a weather pattern. Are you a meteorologist? What's
Ben, you know what this is like? This sounds like, when you're trying to like be smart in middle school or something, and you're in Microsoft Word and you constantly use like the synonyms in Microsoft Word to keep using large, indubitably.
Also, Brett, building on that, it's also like when you're trying to fill out, like when you need to hit a certain character mark in an essay, like 1,000 words, and you just start throwing stuff in there.
Yeah. Like it's very easy to write this in plain English and not as if it was written by like an AI bot or something. Like you could just say motion denied for now, but I might be open to this in the future. We'll see, but I'm not ready to deny it right now. Right. That's essentially what she's saying, right? Like I'm open to these arguments. Like I'm open to it. down the road, but for now, I'm not going to dismiss this thing. And then I'll convert every single word that I have in this thing to some very convoluted word that I found in the Microsoft Word synonyms feature, because I don't know why she has to write like that. But I think it also shows the marks of like an immature judge, like a judge who doesn't quite know what she's doing, a novice judge. And I'm not giving her an out by saying that, but I do think that she like doesn't even know how to write these sorts of things. And she's almost kind of giving Trump here like, hey, listen, like here's a little consolation prize, but it's going to happen for now. And so is
that why we think she was so wordy though? Just so she doesn't, because she obviously is fearful of Trump and getting the mean tweet, right? We know all of anyone that sits under Trump is that's their most scared thing. That's what they're most afraid of. They're most afraid that he's going to say something mean about them. So does she put it this way truly because she believes that this is a way to sort of cover her from that attack?
Well, look, I think that she's trying to cover herself, to Brett's point, as an immature judge, as an amateur, if you will, trying to figure out how to deal with these issues in a way that will be helpful to him in the future, but not being able to figure it out. So she's basically punting it. And Jordy, what they're concerned about too, when it comes to the mean tweet or the mean posts, when Trump does that, he recognizes that that constitutes a mafia style order to go and harass the person who's the target of it. So the post itself then signals to the MAGA base to engage in the stochastic terrorism that is at the root of why he is that to the death threats and the swatting and all of that stuff that ends up going down. So yes, it's the mean post, but then it's the import of what that then means for the person's way of life. But I think that she's less afraid of that. I think that she's beyond that. She wants to be helpful to Trump. But the thing I say also is there's a lot of other serious motions that are before her. So if this is how she's responding to basically the tinfoil argument, what happens when she gets an argument that's tinfoil light? Because this is an absurd claim. You think that no judge ever has looked at section 18 USC 793E and found the word unauthorized to be this amorphous concept. Like, it means you're not authorized to freaking have the thing. It means that you don't get to keep our nuclear codes and claim that they're your personal property.
And so, the frustrating thing about this case is obviously this is the most consequential case to national security, if not global security here. The things that Donald Trump has in these documents are horrific. They're horrific. And the more that the American people find out what sort of evidence Jack Smith has here, the more they are going to realize just how dangerous of a person Donald Trump is. And I think both Trump and, yes, Eileen Cannon know that if this thing goes to trial before the election and the American people see the true extent of what Donald Trump did with our classified information, it would be the immediate death knell of his campaign. I think they know that, right? And that's why we spoke about this in the previous show, but that's why you're starting to see other people who are like, I can't wait. I gotta speak out now, right? We saw Brian Butler, Trump employee number 5, speak out because Judge Eileen Cannon keeps pushing this thing back and hiding the evidence. And she was going to give Donald Trump the list of witnesses anyway. So Brian Butler's like, I'm going to be harassed no matter what. I may as well get my story out to the American people now and let them know what the hell is going on. And so you're starting to see now it's a little bit of desperation, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you're seeing this judge now putting her fingers on the scale of all things Trump in the single most consequential legal catastrophe in American history.
Yeah, so Trump has the list already under the protective order. What Trump tried to do is take the discovery he got under the protective order, and then he filed a baseless motion to compel. And then he took the lists that he got and the witness interviews, he attached it to the motion to compel, and then he tried to argue to Judge Cannon that there should be a different standard for the confidentiality because he attached it on the public docket and filed it to the public, that it should now become the government's burden to show a compelling government interest versus just a good cause standard in discovery under the protective order. And Judge Cannon had basically indicated that she was prepared to make all of the confidential witness lists public. And so Brian Butler, who was employee number 5, he's been so terrified by this. He's like, if she's going to release it, I want to be empowered to tell my story how I want to tell it, which is what went down, versus to have it be released and then have MAGA go after me and have MAGA basically attack me. So that's the dynamic there.
Gotcha.
I want to move on, though, to also then you have what happened with the Manhattan District Attorney case. And here, you have to be puzzled, not at what the Manhattan DA is doing, but what the Department of Justice did, because over a year ago, the Manhattan District Attorney subpoenaed records that are the exact ones at issue here from the Department of Justice. The DOJ said either they don't have relevant documents or said that there's nothing to turn over. Donald Trump was within his rights to issue a subpoena when he did, although it took him a long time to issue. And yes, is he trying to game the system by issuing a late subpoena? But it was still on time when Trump issued it on January 18, 2024, basically asking for the exact same documents. And by the way, I think that Trump had the right to ask for it. Yes, was it late? Sure, but I want to be fair. He's a criminal defendant. You can ask for documents. And the DOJ previously rejected it. So then, to the shock and surprise of Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, the DOJ just dumps over 31,000 pages of documents, like all of a sudden. So, of course, Trump's going to argue, we have trial scheduled for March 25th, and now I just got 31,000 pages of documents, not 31,000 documents, 31,000 pages. I need to go and review these records. And look, any criminal defendant, if you're on the eve of trial, should have the right. I don't care if you're Donald Trump or anybody else. This is the one limited time where I'll probably say a criminal defendant should have the ability to look through the documents, period, full stop. So Trump says he needs at least a 90-day delay or throw out the case because of this. The Manhattan DA goes, what are you talking about, throw out the case? We didn't do the discovery abuse. We asked the DOJ for it. They're just turning it over now. By the way, Trump, you could have asked for it a year ago also. It ain't our fault. We're prepared to still go to trial March 25th, 2024, but we are prepared to delay this thing for 30 days now based on all of the information that was just arisen. And then the Department of Justice is also saying that they have another batch of records, probably thousands, that they're going to be able to turn over next week here. So it's like, Department of Justice, what in the world are you doing here? And I'll make this point also, whenever Donald Trump says the DOJ is working with the Manhattan DA, kind of seems like the opposite, right? Kind of seems like if you were to look at the facts, if the DOJ was actually working with the Manhattan DA, then why would they ever do this, which would actually harm the ability of the case to go to trial when it did? So obviously we knew that was never the case, but if there's any better indication, it's happening here. Now, look, folks, at the end of the day, it's not like this is going to derail the trial before the November election. The trial's going to happen, whether the delay is 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, what have you. It's going to go. But this certainly now it will cause a delay. It's not going to happen March 25th, 2024. And that's the status right there. And again, I think the trial goes soon. It's just like really? Really,
Ben, if we want to, the screw up, if we want to call it that, from the Department of Justice, this stems from the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York, right? Is that SDNY? Is that who this is, the Southern District of New York? And here's my concern, and I maybe a question some of our viewers have right now is, how is this impacted? Because we just have this bizarre now trial schedule, which Donald Trump's using to his advantage, right? There are so many legal cases, court court hearings, what have you, that Donald Trump is trying to play each of them off each other in this weird way. It's like, it's a bizarre thing to be such a criminal that you're able to work it to your advantage, but that seems like what Donald Trump is doing here. So say, in a hypothetical world, you're delayed 30 days here. That puts us up right against that Supreme Court immunity argument at the end of April. So what are the implications if that happens? What are the implications of all the hearings? And does that affect this? Does this affect those? How do they all interplay?
Well, the big one to look at right now is the one in May, which is the Judge Eileen Cannon case, which is currently scheduled for May 20th of 2024. But Judge Cannon previously said to special counsel Jack Smith that she thought his proposed trial date of July was unworkable and seemed to be inclined at oral argument to move it to 2025 or to at least move it after July. There's no way that the Cannon case actually goes in May. Cannon's keeping it on schedule, though, to try to create confusion and try to block others. I ultimately think, though, if I'm the Manhattan DA, Trump will argue we can't set it in May now because we have the Cannon case. But then I think Alvin Bragg goes, yeah, but here's the transcript. You were to argue no way the case can go in May. None of the other things have been scheduled, so it's impossible that it goes in May. And here's where Judge Cannon basically rejected Jack Smith when Jack Smith said July. So Cannon's obviously going to move this to after. And Judge Merchan can do what he did last time, which is to say, look, I'm going to schedule this thing for the week of May 1st or whatever, or May 8th.
Yeah.
And if something else happens, I'll move it, but we're going to move it to the first week of May. That's what I think Judge Merchan will do. But of course, we'll keep you posted here every step of the way. And look, I hope the reason why you come to the MeidasTouch Network is we don't sugarcoat the things. It'd be easy for me to go, Judge Cannon screws Donald Trump and No, I mean, I read the motion. That's not what it is. And similarly here, when we talk about the Manhattan District Attorney situation, I want to give a realistic sense of now what's going to happen, where my criticism is directed to as well, and where we go from here. We got a lot more to discuss on the show. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
As you know, I'm a dad, and as the days go on, I'm learning that it's incredibly important what we give our children. Now, typically, children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise. They're filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk growing kids should frankly never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Yet it tastes great and it's perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment that our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you could imagine. Now, Hiya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. Like I said, I'm a dad and I want to make sure that I give my child the best possible vitamins, and that's why I'm so happy that I've come across Hiya Health. The ingredients are amazing and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Hiya Health is made without that stuff and it's still able to taste great. Now, we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. Now, to claim this deal, you have to go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults.
The older I get, the more I find myself wanting to be more intentional about the way I live, what I eat, and how I take care of my body. Mosh is a company founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a simple mission to create conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. Maria's father suffered from Alzheimer's, and since then, she and Patrick have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families dealing with this debilitating disease. Mosh joined forces with the world's top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar with 6 delicious flavors. Each Mosh bar has 12 grams of protein and is made with ingredients that support brain health like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. They also have a line of plant-based protein bars in 3 delicious flavors. But here's the best part to make you feel good. Mosh donates a portion of all proceeds from your order to fund gender-based brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Why gender-based? 2/3 of all Alzheimer patients are women. Mosh is working closely to close the gap between women and men's health research. The Mosh bars are incredibly delicious. They are my favorite. My favorite is the peanut butter crunch. Now I eat my Mosh bar in the morning for breakfast, and it's the perfect way to kickstart my morning. I'm always carrying around my Mosh bars. The Mosh bars travel super well and always make for the best pre-workout meal for me. If you want to find ways to give back to others and fuel your body and your brain, Mosh bars are the perfect choice for you. Head to moshlife.com/Meidas to save 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack at moshlife.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode. Jordy.
Let's go. Let's go. So as you guys know, links in the description of the YouTube and the audio takes you right there. These are 2 amazing. The Haya Health vitamins are freaking incredible. So definitely check those out. I love that they're not like the gummy junk that they talk about. They're not that. So definitely check those out. They're really incredible vitamins. And
Jordy,
then yeah.
I like that you're able to start the ads with, as you know, I'm a dad. That must be
right.
Cool, right? That's cool.
Absolutely. What a perfect thing to get your children. And then the Mosh protein bars, Ben. I heard you on that, but I'm a peanut butter chocolate kind of guy. This is my jam right here. And if you go to the website, the Mosh, I pop up on the website. That's how close the partnership. I'm on the site, so it's a video of me when you go on there. Check it out.
I love it.
Well, look, the domestic crisis we are now confronting with MAGA Republicans attacking us here in the United States is inextricably intertwined with international affairs. Earlier, Emmanuel Macron, president of France, gave the following statement on French TV. He says, if Ukraine falls, our security will be at risk. If Russia continues to escalate, if the situation worsens, we must be ready and we will be ready. To be prepared, we will make the necessary decisions to ensure that Russia never wins. I want our compatriots to understand that there is only one person responsible for the situation we are in. It is the Kremlin regime. I am undoubtedly a responsible leader, has spoken with Vladimir Putin more than anyone else. We are not in fiction. This is not a novel or a TV series. Therefore, if the war spreads in Europe, it will be the only choice and responsibility of Russia. Of course, today, Russia is an opponent. The Kremlin regime is an opponent. I have always said this. We are not waging a war with Russia and the Russian people, and we support Ukraine. I will tell you very simply, there will be no lasting peace without sovereignty or return to internationally recognized borders of Ukraine, including Crimea. The reason I wanted to talk about that is because the MAGA Republicans have basically ceded any leadership that America can have internationally. And here in America, and I think this was a dig at America, where you have these MAGA Republicans not just supporting Putin, but like cosplaying the role of villain in some bizarro WWE dystopian science fiction horror situation where the MAGA Republicans are literally using in congressional hearings assets of Putin as their source of data and information and saying that these are credible informants. people who are quite literally spies for the CCP in China and assets of Vladimir Putin by their own admission, like Alexander Smirnov talks about his relationship with high-level Russian assassins who will try to kill people abroad. Alexander Smirnov, by his own admission, talks about working with high-level Russian leaders to build compromat on American diplomats, on American dignitaries, on American politicians. Alexander Smirnov, by his own admission, works for Russia to try to cause harm to us here in the United States. That is who the Republicans had been touting as their key witness to try to impeach President Biden. Now, a story from The Guardian, a bombshell from The Guardian that thankfully is not about Kate Middleton. It's about another topic from The Guardian, about Alexander Smirnov, talks about his ties to people who are close with Donald Trump. And look, there's some extent here. It's, 7 degrees or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but this is pretty close in terms of separation to Donald Trump. And so if you look at this chart that was created by The Guardian, they talk about how Alexander Smirnov received $600,000 from ETT Texas, whose CEO is Christopher Condon, who's a shareholder of the ETT company, another ETT. This one is in London, with two people, Sahal Khan and Farouk Arajamand, who both have ties to Donald Trump. One was the person who acquired the Plaza Hotel in 2018, and the other one had worked with a UAE business person named Hussein Sajwani, who does a lot of business deals, and you can see the photo of Hussein Sajwani with Trump's kids, and so all of these people are kind of tied in that kind of MAGA world right there. When you want to know what's this Texas-based ETT company do, where the leader there is the shareholder of the ETT in London, like, what are they doing where Alexander Smirnov's apparently making $600,000 according to this article? Well, this is how ETT describes itself. ETT sets up the chessboard to bring in top-notch executives from those sectors to help implement its vision of love and social impact to improve the quality of human existence through the application of new age technologies. I wonder if Judge Eileen Cannon's ghostwriter is also the person putting forward this mission statement right here, because again, I read this and I'm like, what in the world is that even talking about? But setting aside this, what we have to recognize in this moment right now, like never before though, with AI. Oh, and by the way, they were saying, like, what did Smirnov do? Like, the story about what Smirnov was getting paid for is in exchange for a stake in an Israeli-based crypto trading platform and something to do with AI that Smirnov was working on. But what we have to recognize, and what we talk about over and over again, and this is where the media is just a complete abject failure. There are billions and billions of dollars being pumped in right now to this authoritarian propaganda like we've never seen before. Media used to be gatekeepers, and that was a good thing. And then when media became democratized, also a good thing. But I think the hope was that it was going to allow for more truthful knowledge to come out. But where gatekeepers have ceded their role, bad actors have filled the place, and the entire human experience from the beginning of humankind has actually been a story of despots, authoritarians, dictators, subjugating people. What made America so special is that the democracy in the United States of America, and then the democracy that America helped spread throughout the world, was the rarity in the historical zeitgeist that had never existed before. So now here comes authoritarianism rearing its head, because authoritarianism and subjugating people and treating people like crap and abusing people and exploiting people. That was the way of history if you're a student of history. So now it's coming back, exploiting these tools right now of access to information, pumping billions into it to hoist up this authoritarian oligarchical class. And so when I watch these MAGA Republicans hook, line, and line of Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, it is so awful to see. Just as an American, I want there to be two competitive, intelligent, fact-based political parties, but that just ain't what we got.
No. And, there's also this issue that we're having that is very difficult to grapple with. Like I'll give everybody that. It's that we've never in our lifetimes, never in human history have had to deal with such a deluge of disinformation that could be disseminated so quickly as it is now, where those gatekeepers who you were talking about are basically put on equal weight or sometimes even less weight than people who are just spreading blatant lies and disinformation nonstop through this well-funded, well-coordinated effort with billionaire involvement, with people like Elon Musk, with this network of autocracy that we're seeing around the world that the Republican Party has fully bought into and is assisting. I don't think we could fully say it's just a coincidence that the year that Smirnoff was paid $600,000 by a U.S. company tied to this UK firm that was owned by Trump associates, suddenly that year is the year that he starts feeding all these lies about the Biden family to the FBI at this moment. I mean, I don't think coincidences like that exist when you see this sorts of thing. And just what I wish, and the reason why I am so against a both sides media, especially in this current environment that we're in, it's if you had a friend or just somebody in your life who lied to you once, but was generally kind of trustworthy, right? You would give them another shot. You would. Mm-hmm. Sure. You'd maybe believe them next time. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe what are you going to do about it? If they lied to you twice, if they lied to you 3 times, if you started realizing that every single comment they made to you was a lie, and not only a lie, a horrendous lie that has literal lives of millions of people on the other end of it. At a certain point, probably early on, you'd stop either bringing these people back in your circle or you'd stop taking them at face value. And too often we see these same people week in and week out continue to be invited on the weekend shows as if they're some sort of good actor. And occasionally, the media does a good job at pushing back on them, but they always end up weaponizing it to their advantage anyway. Like the Nancy Mace situation over the weekend with George Stephanopoulos, right? She went on this whole, tirade and started yelling at George Stephanopoulos because she wouldn't answer the question how she could possibly, as a victim herself, how she can possibly support somebody like Donald Trump, who is an adjudicated rapist. And for the past few days since then, every single day, she, instead of admitting that she was wrong, instead of admitting that she refused to answer the very valid question that George Stephanopoulos did a good job on pushing back with, she has instead attacked George Stephanopoulos day in and day out, saying that he attacked her because she was a rape victim. They're not good actors, these people. And it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, fool me 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It's like, what are you doing? Stop giving these bad actors credit. And when you see this alignment, whether it's the Smirnoff situation or whether you see what's happening in Ukraine right now, or whether you see them praising these autocratic people throughout the country, these leaders across the world, rather, it's absolutely gross. You see Macron, what Macron is doing, Ben, what you read before. Yesterday, we reported on a quote from the Polish prime minister who was also urging Mike Johnson, saying, hey, this isn't about your local politics, okay, man? This is about the world. There are lives on the line. Enough. Cut the crap. is basically what he's saying. Thankfully, the Biden administration was able to release $300 million in new aid from savings the Department of Defense had received, but we can't keep finding these little loopholes to get money to them. We need Congress to act here. And right now, the fate of a lot of lives overseas are in the hands of Mike Johnson and these MAGA Republicans. And we know Donald Trump with Viktor Orban recently. Donald Trump did not deny it in that Newsmax interview last night. We know that Donald Trump said the second if he were to come back into office, he would stop spending a single penny to help Ukraine and would help Russia take over. And I just want to look at, like, we also have to realize, we brought this up with Hungary and this praise of Viktor Orban, but the leaders who they praise, guys, are fundamentally ineffective leaders. Like, they're not good leaders to begin with. So when you look at like Argentina, for example, they praise the guy. I got Ben's dogs barking in the back over the bark on the truth, right? I guess so. You see, Marjorie Taylor Greene now, she is praising Argentina for the work they've done to combat inflation. And here's what she was praising today. She goes, this was a quote from a post from an account called End Wokeness, which is just a white nationalist account on X. Like, it's strictly, that's the function. It's an authoritarian white nationalist account, in my opinion. Argentina's monthly inflation rate, December 25.5%, January 2024 20.6%, February 2024 13.2%. And what Marge says here is, we could save America if we did the same thing. The same what thing? If you look at this at a year-over-year basis, Argentina's inflation rate was 276% in the past year. 276%. Argentina's poverty rate hit 57% in January. That's up from 49.5% in December. And they have a massive childhood poverty problem. UNICEF says that Argentina's child poverty rate is on track right now to hit 70%. 70%. So on the one hand, you have Argentina at 276% inflation year over year. You have the United States with one of the lowest inflation rates in the entire world, handling it better than just about any other nation at 3.2% year over year. That's America, 3.2%. Argentina, 276%. Month over month, you have Argentina, what Marjorie Taylor Greene is celebrating, 13.2% inflation from the last month to February. And you have the U.S. at 0.4%. Marjorie Taylor Greene holds Argentina up as this is the epitome of what America should be. And she holds up America as trash when America is doing, like, it's not even close, the jobs that the leaders are doing in each country right now. And
look, if she was thinking about the World Cup, maybe she has a point. But right, the thing is that the thing is that, like, you take the World Cup as an example, right? If we were talking about which country has the lowest inflation, would be the winner of the World Cup, right? And so you were to look at the United States, number one, which maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, that she realized number one's actually the best, not the worst. So U.S. is number one. And then let's say there's a team that doesn't even make the World Cup. They don't even qualify. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying she would prefer America be the person who doesn't even make it into the World Cup than actually winning the championship.
Ben, it's not just that Argentina is bad. They're literally the worst. Like, they have the worst inflation of any country.
But guys, look, it goes back to something we always say on the show. These MAGA Republicans, they're attracted to losers. Time and time again. It's why they can't seem to distance themselves from Trump or his family. They love losers. They love losing.
Perception.
That's MAGA. That's Lara Trump. That's Donald Trump. That's the entire Republican Party right now. Just losers, man.
Yeah, and look, the fact that we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene as the conveyor of this information or the purveyor of this information goes to tell you they elevated Marjorie Taylor Greene not just as a fringe figure, but let's put her on Homeland Security. Let's put her on oversight. Let's give her the key seats. And they kind of think it's a game. Like, let's put her closest to President Biden, so when he comes down, everybody could see her, in her kind of clown outfit. it and ha 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 ha, aren't we owning the libs? No, you're making our country look stupid. You're making our country look dumb. You're making our allies not trust us. You're making America look like a Mar-a-Lago dumpster fire. And serious people don't take us seriously because of what MAGA Republicans are doing. And then when you've got people like Lara Trump running the RNC, running the Republican Party, turning the RNC, as Chairman Jamie Harrison of the DNC said, into the TNC, the Trump National Committee. You went from Ronna Romney McDaniel. How do you get worse than that? They figured it out, Lara Trump, and she bragged about sending an email. That was one of the things. I think we have this clip, Brett. Let's try to find it, where she talks about, I did send an email yesterday. Okay, bragging about sending one email in a day. Again, do you want the Judge Eileen Cannon consolation trophy here? Play this clip of Lara Trump.
What is the plan to get more money into the coffers? Because at this point, we all know it's money wins elections.
Yeah, well, look, I think the change in leadership at the RNC has really inspired a lot of people to give. This past weekend, we had our best fundraising weekend since 2020, Rob. That tells you all you need to know. People understand this is a must-win election, and I think they're very confident in the team we now have between myself as co-chair and Michael Whatley as chairman. And I can tell you, I have personally received over the past 36 hours phone calls from multiple people who want to donate max out money to the RNC, to the Trump effort, because people understand what is at stake right now. So that money is going to start coming back in. People are going to hear directly from me. I personally wrote an email this morning to send out to people all across this country asking for donations. We do have to catch up.
Imagine Chairman Jamie Harrison saying that I actually
Lara, go. She wrote an email, guys. She wrote an email.
She wrote an email this morning. But what they also did, by the way,
hold on. I'm going to start using that with you guys. You guys are going to be like, Jay, what did you do? How do we help better, MeidasTouch in the pro-democracy community today? I'm like, guys, I wrote an email.
Yeah, and also RNC fired about 60 of its employees. It's just so interesting that those employees thought that they were going to be the ones owning whoever, getting rid of the other RNC. It's you, because let me tell you, when you bring in Lara Trump, then you bring in people like Christina Bobb, who was the Trump lawyer, or she was the only person they got to sign as the custodian of records when an initial visit was done by the FBI and DOJ, certifying that all of the documents were turned over to the FBI and DOJ to the best of her knowledge, which turned out to be false, and that Donald Trump had taken the documents, given them, as now we know, to employee number 5, Brian Butler, who then took the documents. He didn't know what he was taking, and then they basically flew it away when the Department of Justice actually showed up. But yes, you have Christina Bobb is now promoted, or hired and promoted, to the senior counsel role for election integrity. And she was the person in 2022. She was talking about decertifying the results, and she didn't even know what she was talking about. Yeah,
2022.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good point. I should emphasize that she was talking about decertifying the results in 2020, and then you'll see she has no clue what she's talking. I'll play this clip for you, but she does know. She goes, "This is so complex. I can't even explain it to you. It's so complete. You wouldn't even understand it because you're making it up and you're lying." Here, just play this clip of the new head senior counsel for the RNC on the issue of election integrity. Play the clip.
Evidence that Joe Biden side cheated. So they could withdraw their electors, or they could actually decide to award Trump electors, although I would anticipate they would probably just withdraw the electors. And if that happens from 3 different states, 3 different resolutions go into Congress, and I'm summarizing this.
Right.
It's a complicated issue, but it would have to go into the U.S. Congress to decide whether they want to accept the resolutions, whether they want to act on them or not. So it's a complex issue that needs to be handled complexly by.
It's a complex issue that needs to be handled complexly.
So this is
and let me try to summarize it. You know what? It's so complex. But in 2022, we are going to reinstall Donald Trump. And That's your senior counsel, RNC. And here's the thing. Do you really hear? I saw that some media had put that in like buried somewhere, but I can guarantee you that if President Biden selected as the senior counsel somebody who said something like that, my hunch is it would be a front page story for an entire week, Brett.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If the whole thing is just so absolutely crazy, but even that right there, right? Speaking about this alliance with the Republican Party and Russia, is there anything more Russian or Kremlin-esque than putting in power the person who is trying to overturn the election still in 2022 and calling that your head of election integrity and running with that? But it's a term I've used on this show before, and if it's new to you, I'm happy to always teach you a word. But the Republican Party wants to turn this country and has already turned their party into a kakistocracy, which just means a government run by the least competent people in the country. And that is what the Republican Party is. That's exactly what they've done with the entire party infrastructure. And that's what they want to do with this entire country. And we cannot let them. We have smart, competent people who are getting the job done. It's like if you're in school and you have like the smart kids, right? And then you have the kids who don't know what they're talking about, just going nerd and pushing them on the ground. It's like, let's let the smart kids run stuff. Okay. Let's let the people who actually want to do the work and not this kakistocracy of Lara Trump and whoever the heck else they have over there. That's all I got to say. Anyway,
we still got a lot of show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take our last quick break of the show.
Your dog is a member of the family. Serve them the top quality food that they deserve. Serve them Num Num. All dogs are individuals, and they deserve to be served like it. Num Num delivers freshly made dog food personalized to your dog's preferences and unique caloric needs. Num Num is made with 100% premium ingredients. That means 0% freaky fillers or funky stuff. Dogs love great tasting meals, just like us, yet their nutritional needs are different than ours. That's why Num Num's nutrient-packed recipes are developed by board-certified veterinary nutritionists, freshly made and shipped free to your door. Num Num has already delivered over 40 million meals. That's because the best dogs, yours, deserve the best food, ours, Num Nums. My dog Mello is truly my best friend and like a son to me. Look, there's pictures of him right there. You guys know I talk about him all the time on the show, and that's why I'm committed to only giving him the best, and that's Num Num. Num face assured or your money back guaranteed. Meaning if your dog isn't deliriously excited about dinner, then it's a money back guarantee. Now again, board-certified vet nutritionists develop each of Num Num's recipes to provide dogs with the proper balance of vital nutrients required to thrive. Oh yeah, they're also floor-licking deliciously good too. Say bye to boring dog food. Your dog deserves a reason to run to their bowl for every single meal, every single day. Go right now for 50% off your no-risk 2-week trial at trynum.com/Meidas. Spell try, TRYNOM.com/Meidas for 50% off. trynum.com/Meidas.
So what if ordinary people, just like you and me, could change the world with the push of a button? Meet Lomi, the world's first kitchen appliance designed to turn your home into a climate solution by transforming your food scraps into nutrient-rich plant food. Now that I've invested in a Lomi, it's changed the way I deal with my food waste. Lomi is the biggest innovation in the modern-day kitchen since the dishwasher. It's a smart and simple solution to turn food scraps into plant food. In just 4 hours, Lomi transforms almost anything you eat into nutrient-rich plant food at the push of a button. Lomi helps cut the chore of taking out the trash in half, and it eliminates bugs and odors in your kitchen. And here's a bonus. You get to feed your lawn and garden with an all-natural fertilizer that you just created out of your own food scraps. Lomi has helped me turn my home into a climate solution. Now I can transform my organic waste into nutrient-rich Lomi earth that I can feed to my plants, lawn, or garden instead of sending it to the landfill. I can help the environment and make my life easier. All my food scraps, plant clippings, and even those leftovers I forgot in the back of the fridge, you know what I'm talking about, can go back into my garden, helping me grow more nutritious food at home. And now Lomi's new app lets me track my environmental impact, earn points for every cycle, and redeem for freebies from Lomi plus other great brands. Lomi promises to bring you the best possible experience every time you run a cycle. They are one of the only kitchen appliances that has a full, no questions asked lifetime warranty on all devices, and they don't stop there. Lomi looks after you from day one and beyond. When you purchase a continued subscription, you'll automatically get upgraded to a new Lomi device every 3 years. I love my new routine with Lomi. No more stinky trash bins, no more leaky bags making a mess of the house when I take the bag out to the curb. Whether you want to start making a positive environmental impact or just grow a beautiful garden, I'll have to post mine soon. Lomi is perfect for you. Head to lomi.com/Meidas, LOMI.com/Meidas, and use that promo code Meidas to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/Meidas. Use that promo code Meidas at checkout. Thank you, Lomi, for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to our pro-democracy sponsors right there. The discount codes are in the description below. We try to find fun ways to grow this independent media network, and one of those ways is through these pro-democracy sponsors. Jordy vets them. Brett and I try everything, and it's important for us to pick sponsors who we think you'll enjoy their products. I mean, KFA is the biggest Lomi fan in the world. I like it. KFA, all she talks about.
I love Lomi. KFA talks about Lomi every single day, though.
I'm frankly like KFA. Yeah, I'm like KFA. Like, I love you. You're amazing at everything you do. I don't need to hear every Lomi update. Like maybe a once a week recap.
That just speaks to how great the Lomi is. Definitely check that out. And Num Num, I mean, Mello loves it. And anytime I could feed my dog a sponsor and be able to show him on screen when I do the reads, that's a win in my book. So definitely support our sponsors.
Yeah, we appreciate our sponsors. And again, as we've said before, you've got Fox does about $15 billion in revenue a year, and they pour that money into disinformation. As I said, not revealing trade secrets here. We don't do that. And so we build this on the emojis. We build this on our Patreon, patreon.com/.
Slightly different model.
Slightly different business model. We've got some great emojis and some pro-democracy sponsors, but we're very, very, very grateful to them. But look, when you're people-powered, you're unstoppable. And this community here, the Meidas Mighty, is unstoppable. Let's show compassion.
Yeah.
Let's show empathy.
Yeah.
Let's show positive traits. Like, I want to talk about this. First, let's show President Biden responding to Trump's comments the other day, where Trump says that he's going to cut Social Security and Medicare. Let's take a look at what President Biden did in response, if we've got this clip.
Give me a break. Just this week, Donald Trump said cuts to Social Security and Medicare are on the table. When asked if he changed his position, he said, quote, "There's a lot we can do in terms of cutting. Tremendous amount of things we can do," end of quote. I want to assure you, I will never allow it to happen. I won't cut Social Security. I will not cut Medicare. Instead of cutting Social Security and Medicare to give tax breaks to the super wealthy, I'm going to protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
When I talk about Trump's claim of absolute presidential immunity when it comes to the theft of classified documents, one of the ways I describe it is, if you're supportive of Trump's claim, it would be like after somebody comes into your home and robs you and then puts the stuff into their car, you basically say to the robber, "It's yours now. Really good job. I'm fully supportive of you stealing from me. You have absolute immunity. Great job in stealing." When we talk about what Donald Trump's plan is on almost every issue, he wants to take away your health care, the health care that you rely on to live. I'm just not sure all of the other issues in your life, but I have to imagine living is probably up there on the list. And so when Trump's policy is to take away the living part, of your life and go, yeah, you know that healthcare, you know how President Biden's reduced the cost of things like insulin and reduced the healthcare costs. You know how like with Obama and Biden, they created Obamacare, which probably have led to many of you getting insurance who maybe didn't have insurance before or who were uninsurable in certain pre-existing conditions before. And now you can get the life-saving treatments that you should be entitled to, that you are entitled to. Yeah, Trump wants to take that away from me. Yeah, you know Social Security, you know what you've been paying into all along. Yeah, Trump wants to take that away from you. That's on the chopping blocks. They're going to take that. And by the way, he's a big dick also, and he mocks stutterers. He mocks people with disabilities, and he treats people like utter freaking crap and goes around and calls himself Trump. Imagine if I just called myself, you know what Marcellus wants to say? Marcellus is telling, it's like, what are you talking about? And this is the person that a significant portion of our country supports. It is freaking baffling that he can steal from you, that he can take away your health care, that he can take away your Social Security, that he could attack you, he could demean you, yet you go, oh, I don't like the way he says that. And he doesn't even freaking make sense when he talks. His whole thing is, he doesn't even freaking say words anymore. He garbles it. He doesn't even talk in coherent sentences anymore. And he's just a freaking jerk. Like what? And he's weird. And he goes on stage and he talks about how he'd rather get electrocuted than eaten by sharks. And he talks about how, he posts things about how, oh, Joe, are you posting AI? Joe, are you posting AI on me? I never said the things that I actually said. And then the media is like, well, a very powerful speech that this guy gave. Give me a break. And when I see moments like this, though, of President Biden in just showing empathy, like actually acting like an adult, having the values that I want to teach my kids and grandkids, and I want people to aspire to. And I see this is what threatens these MAGA Republican. I just think to myself, wow, you must be so freaking miserable in your life. You must have so much hate in your heart that something like this bothers you. Play the clip.
So tell me about you.
I have a startle just like you do.
I did too, but don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. You can do whatever you want to do. I used to find it hard to talk on the telephone or stand up in front of people and talk, because people would make fun of it, like this president making fun. But remember, look at me. You're smart. You're handsome. You know what you're doing. Don't let anybody tell you you can do anything. Anything. I met a young man when I was running in 2020 who was a little older than your son. And when we were going through the line, I could tell every stutter can recognize another stutter.
Yeah.
And he went up. And I said, come with me while I write my speech. I put a little mark on my speeches. And everywhere I want to write the hello, instead of saying hello, Milwaukee, thank you, Ray, say hello, Milwaukee, pause. Thank you, Ray, for this introduction and the sharing your family story. It's familiar to so many. So I mark my speeches, every single one.
Thank you so much.
You're so good.
Is that good?
Thank you.
And then on the other hand, you had Donald Trump give a speech where he just mocked people who are stuttering with the disability of stuttering. And then, by the way, when you watch, and I don't want to show any of these things. I don't even want to show. I don't want to show Trump on this episode. I'm fed up. I'm not even showing Trump on this episode at all.
Real quick, was that not the sweetest freaking thing? That was the sweetest. I'm crying. That's
what President Biden is. And by the way, that's what a president of the United States once was. And we could disagree with presidents on issues, and we could disagree with them vehemently. But the president of the United States was always someone who I would have wanted my kids and grandkids and family and people to look up to. To have someone hold that position that shouldn't be holding the position at a company, big, small, medium-sized, nonprofit, an adjudicated rapist. I get that the media may be afraid that, okay, if you say it like George Stephanopoulos did, then MAGA's going to gaslight you. So what? So who gives a crap if Nancy Mace wants to gaslight you? Let them expose themselves then if they want to support adjudicated rapists. But we should not be okay and just normalize and not talk about it that an adjudicated rapist is leading the Republican Party. On the one hand, he's a rapist. On the other hand, you got President Biden who works with kids who stutters and acts in a very empathetic way. And by the way, here is the Teamsters VP recently on CNN talking about how a Biden endorsement is very likely. Let's play this clip.
So based on what you heard in the meeting today, will Biden get the Teamsters endorsement?
I feel pretty certain he will, based on the tone and tenure of everybody in the room. And, you know, I wasn't present for the last interview with the former president, but everyone sort of made a big difference between, a candidate of grievance and a candidate of action and doing things for the labor movement and working men and women across the country. Donald Trump is what he is. He's been anti-union for decades. And I think we're wasting our time. We need to understand that these gains were won primarily by Democrats that are willing to vote for us. I know we get accused of supporting only Democrats, but honestly, the reason is that Republicans haven't supported us. I mean, they're pushing right to work. Right to work doesn't benefit anybody. It benefits corporations. Let's be honest. There's no choice here. There never was a choice. Joe Biden was key in saving the pensions, not just for our union, but many other unions that were troubled pensions. He has been very, very positive and proactive in reforming the labor board, the Department of Labor, OSHA, all these different agencies that really affect the livelihoods and well-being of our members and those folks that aren't members.
So on the one hand, you have in President Biden and Democrats, someone who supports workers, someone who supports the right of unions to exist, stands on the picket lines, fights for workers, fights for higher wages, not just like in some metaphysical sense, like actual concrete policy that has led to actual concrete benefits being delivered on a daily basis, impacting and improving life. On the other hand, using the examples I've talked about before, you have Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans who are literally working to destroy unions, who just harm them, harm workers, give unfair benefits to billionaires and decamillionaires, but then basically try to do propaganda and go, we're with you, and then snatch the money out of your pocket. I mean, you just have to open your eyes and wake up and see what's actually happening here. And look, if there's one thing that Trump is better at than almost anybody in the history, it is conning people. He is the biggest con artist perhaps ever in history. There's nothing that he won't do to try to con and screw you over. People from New York knew that about him. People from Atlantic City knew about him. And people who are evaluating the actual existence of the world know that because, Brett, as we now are at this grim milestone of the 4-year mark, and we look back to where we were 4 years ago, as MeidasTouch just basically started 4 years ago, it was days like this where I basically, as a lawyer, I was like, what am I had this epiphany. I'm like, what am I doing as a lawyer? Like, why? Like, I'm ignoring, not to say you couldn't do both at the same time, but I'm ignoring what was happening. And I'm like, I have to change my life. I need to.
Ben, can I quickly play? Just go back to this one Lara Trump clip. What she has to say about 4 years ago. It's just 10 seconds, but I think it's going to set this up nicely. Let me play this clip.
And people look around and they say, am I better off now than I was 4 years ago? The answer to that is no. You can compare very easily how much better your life was with Donald Trump in office.
Could you imagine if a Democrat was in office when the coronavirus hit our shores or was about to hit our shores, and you had gotten the intel if you actually read it, so you knew what was going to happen, you decided to do nothing, and here is the message, direct quotes that you told the American people. March 6th, it'll go away. March 10th, just stay calm, it will go away. March 12th, it's going to go away. March 30th, it will go away. You know it is going away, and it will go away, and we're going to have a great victory. March 31st, it's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, hopefully it will be soon after that. April 3rd, it's going to go away. It's going. I didn't say a date. I said it's going away, and it's going away. April 7th, it did go. It will go away. May 15th, it will go away. At some point, it will go away. June 15th, at some point, this stuff goes away, and it's going away. July 19th, I will be right eventually. I said it's going to disappear. I will say it again. August 5th, this thing's going away. It will go away. Like things go away. August 31, it's going away. September 15th, it's going away. And it's probably going to go away now a lot faster because of the vaccines. October 10th, it's going to disappear. It is disappearing. October 24th, it's going away. It's rounding the turn.
I just want to reemphasize that those were direct quotes. That wasn't just Ben repeating himself and saying it's going away. Those were all direct quotes from Trump, basically like week by week as we went through the COVID pandemic. And sorry, but I have some other stuff to say, but go on.
But that exact script, put it to anything. His theft of classified information, Stormy Daniels, E. Jean Carroll, you name the issue, you will find the exact type of thing over and over again. He repeats the lie, the big lie, over and over and over again. They push it out, with all of the propaganda, and for reasons that I suppose Goebbels with the Nazis understood, the pathology and dictators have learned before. For whatever reason, you say the same lie, the biggest one, over and over and over again, and people are, for whatever reason, mesmerized by it, and they just buy into the big lie. It's to me, I'm like looking at this and I'm like, do we all see what's going on here right before our eyes? And that's why you need to push back at this. You can't accept the status quo, because if you just accept it, the big lie will bulldoze over you. So the way you take away the big lie is do the big truth. And you build a community that's bigger than the big lie, and you spread the values of love, compassion, honesty, democracy. And that's what we do here. That's what you do here watching that. That's the only way to combat the big lie, is the Meidas Mighty movement that you created. Brett, I'll give you the final word of the show.
Yeah, I just want to say, it brings us back full circle, right? Because in the beginning, we were speaking about this kind of Russian-style disinformation that comes from Trump, that comes from all these bad actors on social media, that comes from the right-wing propaganda media. And while Trump was saying that, remember, he also started this out by saying, and this is their new hoax. This is the Democrats' new hoax. And you had his media arm pushing that same sort of narrative. And it's the same thing. And Hannity, in a weird way, kind of tied this all up tidily for us so we could see how ridiculous it is. And so we could be aware and be prepared whenever they pull this sorts of stuff. And we could see that everything that comes out of their mouth is an utter lie, an utter and complete lie. This is 4 years ago to the day what Hannity was saying about COVID, where he was comparing it to, it's a hoax, just like it was a hoax. Russia, Russia, Russia. Now it's COVID, COVID, COVID. This is what was being beamed into people's homes on Fox 4 years ago.
Russia, Russia, Ukraine, Ukraine, impeach, impeach, Corona, Corona. That's how disgustingly corrupt they are to the core.
And this is what the lies that they push to you. This is how they make the people who are actually trying to get stuff done appear like the bad guys, and how they are able to mobilize this just disgusting army of people who are just horrific to just go against our country, or even in cases, well-meaning people to go against their own interest and go against the country. It's a constant feeding of propaganda. And Ben, what I was thinking also is, because this is just about 4 years from the time that we began MeidasTouch, even before MeidasTouch started, I had put out a video as we saw all of this unfolding, right? As we saw Trump making these statements, these just completely irresponsible statements. It's almost, in a way, unofficially the first MeidasTouch video. And so maybe in the after show at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, we could show this clip in the after show. It's called Irresponsible Rhetoric. This is kind of the first real MeidasTouch video before MeidasTouch was even a thing.
MeidasTouch video exclusively on patreon.com/MeidasTouch after the show. That's awesome.
This was us, the result of us freaking out in our text message chain. And I'm like, I put this montage together. I had no idea what I was doing. Put the montage together, put it out, probably barely got any views at the time, but I just went back to see what I was, posting about 4 years ago to the day. And 4 years ago, just about to the day, it's like 2 days ago at this point, I made this video, which showed just the staggering incompetence and the maliciousness of the way the Trump and his entire administration handled this crisis. So I want to play that for you at patreon.com/MeidasTouch after this.
I want to thank everybody so much for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers. Right now, let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work. Share the MeidasTouch Network with 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, however many people you want to share with. Tell people about this network. Tell people about our channel. Reach out to people who you think are not familiar with these events or aren't paying attention. Show them the clips. Show them the videos. Tell them, hey, just maybe you take a look at this and see what you think. Let's bring more people to this community. Let's keep on growing it, and let's keep spreading love. Let's spread compassion. Let's spread honesty, and let's protect and defend our democracy. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.